Happy Sunday. This is PFG Live, the podcast dedicated to the writings of internet philosopher Hey Man, Why Didn't You? Hey Man, why didn't you let the AI control the shaper? Welcome aboard. We got a bunch of people in the Discord, and people are starting to pile into YouTube. Right now, the weather, let's see, Evils was just on it. The weather in Evil's shop is 21.5 degrees C. And we don't understand anything. Warren Jones says in Sutton, New Hampshire, it's sunny, 42 degrees Fahrenheit, not too breezy, and beautiful. Tucker in the Buffalo, New York, says it's 49 degrees Fahrenheit and partly sunny. Paul Morley in Dallas says it's sunny and 76. Frankenstein winds from the south at 18 miles per hour. Bill Olney in Rome, New York, home of the Air Force Research Lab, says it's 50 and sunny. Kyle Kirsch says it's 49. Frankenstein headed to a high of 53 and overcast in Salem, Oregon. It's always like that in Salem, Oregon, isn't it? Machine Shop Dan says, oh yeah, no, you're still getting the thing. That's okay, Dan. What's the weather, Dan? What's the weather? John Grimsmo, I've never heard of him, says it's 10 degrees science and mostly cloudy somewhere around Toronto. Evil's 55 degrees from Frank down in the New Jersey, sunny and breezy. Dale in Edmonton, Alberta says it's minus 8C, 17 Frankenstein, and light snow showers in northwest Hoth. Kyle Kirsch says, yep, pretty much standard weather here. Outstanding. Nick Weymouth says in Brockville, Ontario, it's 5 Celsius and west-southwest at 22, gusts 33 kilometers per hour. Josh says, audio check. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And let's see. In the YouTube side, Carl Tauber down in the People's Republic of Rhode Island says it's 45 degrees Frankenstein and sunny. Kevin Blodgett in Portland, Oregon says it's 49 degrees Frankenstein and overcast and drizzling, which means it's basically Portland, Oregon. Welcome aboard. We have more Canadians today than I think is legal in the state of New Hampshire. So shh, don't tell anybody. Here in the Windham, New Hampshire, it is currently 46 degrees Fahrenheit, 38% relative humidity. Manchester Airport says its winds are 9 knots, gusting to 21 knots, 10-mile visibility, few clouds at 11,000, few clouds at 15,000, temperature 08, dew point minus 09, altimeter 3039. Remarks are unimportant. Okay, cool. Everything's working. We had a little bit of technical issues this morning, but we got it together. Community notes. I don't know if we have any community notes today. Nobody sent me anything. Everybody's doing great. We have some new faces in the Discord server. By the way, if you want to join us on Discord, you could head over to pfg.gg/discord. I know it's a shocker, and get an invite. What else? Oh, so today we got the report from the Batcave.
Come on, Robin, to the Batcave.
So the Flat Cave reports, we got an order today for the first time ever for a regrind on some stones, which is great. An old customer, happy to serve. 6-inch stones are almost finished. They're waiting for the edges to be finished, proper washing and packaging and lasering, and they'll be ready to ship. If I get ambitious tonight, they'll be ready to ship tomorrow morning. If I'm not ambitious tonight, they'll be ready to ship Tuesday. That's pretty much the report from the Flat Cave. Otherwise, everything is doing pretty well. I don't think we have any errata from last week, but this week I accidentally started a project. How bad were they? How bad were which? I lost the thread. Oh, the regrind stones. I'll tell you what they won't be better than. So the first ever regrinds, I'm going to tell a story on them. I'm just going to tell them. So Eddie Reese, who works for John, was one of the he might have been the first commercial customer for the stones, and he ordered them for the shop. So I get a query from him. Can you do a regrind on the stones? I'm like, sure, I'll do a regrind for you. What do you need? So I said, send me a picture. And he sends me this picture. I'm like, send me those stones. So he sends the stones back. I've shown these before. I'm not gonna show them again. But I guess he didn't brief everybody in the shop about how to use these stones. So they had these gouges. People were taking corners off of. I happily reground those stones. So I don't think I've had to do a regrind in 2 years, a year and a half. It's been crazy. Anyway, that's happening. Thank you for asking, Mr. Grimsmo. Oh, Mr. Grimsmo's in the chat. Who would have thought? In other news, I accidentally started a project because I'm cleaning up the electronics bench. The electronics bench has been a mess, but I've got projects coming in. I've got client work I need to do, and I've got just some general stuff. And so I got a little crazy. And I don't know if you're as interested in these Weha drivers as I am, but I have the full set of Wehas. And buy them as needed. But they've always been a pain in the ass to store. I have made posts about this, so I'm not going to post what I did for the old ones, but for the new ones, I designed a new holder that is maximum density for holding the screwdrivers. Now, the old version held the screwdrivers working point down, and the idea was you can read the handles, right? You could read the nomenclature on the handles, and you could reach over and pick what you want. It did not work that way ever. The only way it worked is I need a thing that's about like this. So then you'd get underneath it, and you'd be looking up at the points, and you'd be looking for the little pointy things. So I realized that the behavior of the human was to look for the thing you need, and having the point pointing down and then you having to get under it was not working. So this guy holds all the drivers with the handles down. And then the next thought was, how do you get them maximally dense and still be nice and usable? And as soon as I thought about maximum density, I thought about, it hit me one morning. It was like, oh, hex close packed. So these are hexagons, hexagonal holes, and it increases the density of round things that you're packing together. Nature knows about this. It's called a honeycomb. Crystallography knows about this. It's called body-centered cubic crystals, which we encounter a lot in things like, titanium. And it worked really great. And then when I made the first one, and I was playing with it on the bench, I realized they were kind of jiggly, and they stayed in whatever position they wanted to be. So I started tipping it over, and it was, my son said, "Oh, Dad, put magnets in there, and it'll hold them really nice." So sorry, Unix Carbide, I didn't mean that. He said, "Put cucumbers in there." So I started playing with it, and if you tilt it over, they just lock into position. So then I played with how much tilt, and it ended up being 6 degrees of tilt. And it's magnificent. So anyway, check the Instagram feed, and you can see the latest on these. I know, it's a small thing. 3D printing department came through in style. Machine Shop Dan says, it'd be nice if they were spring-loaded bottoms in each so you can drop a small bit down in there, and it's hard to implement. Yeah, so I actually measured all the handles and came up with a reasonable depth for this thing. And I just love the way it landed. If you're a member of our Discord, I put the models in our channel on Discord called 3D Models Only. And you'll find that in there. And if you want the big one, that'll be in there probably tonight. So that was the latest project in the Flat Cave. So today, we're very lucky. We have a guest today. His name is John Grimsmo. You may have heard of him. John is up in the Toronto area. We're going to bring him in a second. Let me just set this up for you. John's been using AI coding for some projects very successfully, and I'm very eager to talk to him about that. I've been doing some littler projects using AI coding, and it's been very successful, and I want to talk to him about that. Never heard of him, Warren. You have time. Go ahead. Just go watch, search him on YouTube. No, not OnlyFans. YouTube. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, you'll find his stuff. And there's another topic I want to bring up called trigger order strategy. And I made a modification to how my business is working. And then I realized, John is also the perfect person to talk to about this. Is he also a flat guy? Oh, he is a flat guy. So please welcome Mr. John Grimsmo from the Greater Toronto area. John, welcome. Welcome aboard.
Hello. Thanks for having me on, Spencer.
Happy Sunday. Nice to have you here. So, if it's okay with you, I'd like to talk about some weird stuff before we get to the main topic.
I am here for all the weird stuff. I always love our nerdy chat.
Yes, they are fun. They are fun chats. So
I'll first answer the question: am I a flat guy? So here I am at home in my house, in my desk drawer. I have my personal set, my home set of flat stones.
Nice.
And I actually use them at home for like little random stuff, often enough.
Well, I have my own personal at-home, my Fiel, and I do not sharpen this on my PFG stones because I don't need to. And I also have, now listen to this sound, people. Listen to the sound. This is a Norseman. There's my Norseman. Oh, it doesn't get any better. So thank you for making those things and continuing to chase the ultimate grismosity. I appreciate it. So what's going on in your life? Things are busy. We've been watching you, and the business is going well, and your fantastic team is doing their thing. Everything's been good.
Yeah, everything's been flying. We're trying to get out of we're trying to grow. We're trying to figure out what's next in order to kind of bring it all home and come in for a landing and, actually like see the numbers go up a little bit. And there's so much to unpack in that topic that it's overwhelming and hard to focus in on a couple things. So one of the topics I want to talk to you about today later is on this route, and hopefully we'll help solve some of that problem.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we do it today. One of the things that I want to talk to you about is this kind of the path. An order comes in, and you process it in a certain way. I've run my entire PFG Stones business on a spreadsheet, and I know you're no stranger to spreadsheets.
I'm a master of the sheets.
That's what I heard. I read that. So what I do is I learned about lean manufacturing. We all have, right? We have followed the way. This is the way, and I decided that there is a small but finite inventory that I need to have on hand. I'd like to have an inventory, let's say, of 1 week or 2 weeks. I think it's about 2 weeks that I use. Especially since something could happen. I'd like to ship immediately, but I don't have to ship immediately because my customers expect me to ship in a couple of weeks. So I have safety stock. And then I have similar safety stock of components like trays. I need a certain number of trays on hand, and it goes through the whole list. But what happens when I run out of a certain size stone? So like you just held up the 4-inch PFG stones. So what if that hits 0? So what's been happening?
Finished or raw material?
Finished. Okay. So finished stones, like I think the number right now is 7 sets. Used to be 6. I've kind of bounced it up. So, but what happens when it hits 0? And that's what changed with me. So nominally, I would show up on Friday morning, which maybe is my production day, and I would look at the spreadsheet, And if there were no orders that are waiting on inventory, I should, as a good follow the spreadsheet guy, pick one of the things that needs production and just start producing, right? Produce for inventory. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. I would produce for inventory.
Yeah.
And in producing for inventory, I realized that if I started the production run on, for example, 6-inch stones, because the spreadsheet says you're out or you're low, right? And then in the middle of that, I get an order for something else, which I have not enough of. I now have to wait until the run that I'm doing is over and then start the one that the order just came in for. And I realized that I had started waiting for that trigger order. So if I had 0 and 0, I would not start production. I would wait until the order came in to decide. It's like quantum manufacturing.
Yeah. Some entanglement theory in there.
Yeah. So I'd wait until that order came in to tell me which is the one I should start. Am I losing? So my question for you is that crazy or does that sound familiar?
It does sound familiar. It's tricky. And because we have so many components that we make and then orders come in for finished goods and we're like, oh, well, we don't have any DLC honeycomb Norseman handles in stock. So that triggers us to make some more. And currently it's still a bit of a gut feel thing. Like we also have our spreadsheets and we make some stuff for stock, but it's not super rigid yet. So a lot of it is relatively made to order, or we have piles of honeycomb handles already, but maybe they're not DLC coded yet.
Yeah.
So we'll stock up a little batch and we send them out for DLC, and then 2 weeks later, hopefully, we get them back. So I don't think there's a perfect answer, and everybody's business probably runs just enough differently that I don't know.
You have, I think, in your case, there's a lot more choices down the logic tree when somebody places an order, right?
I was working on that last night. Like, what is the logic tree? Like, I want to see it mapped out of how many pattern options, how many coding options, how many color options, how many finish options there are. And so I'm building that out. I don't have an answer for you right now, but it's hundreds. Like, I think we offer 100 anodizing colors.
Oh my gosh. The fact that you can control that and you can is amazing to me. But of course I know the technical details, but still, the order comes in and I want it to be chartreuse. And somehow you manage to pull that off is incredible.
It's the two tones and the fades that are really fun, and the guys have really developed that list. So there might be, 5 or 10 base colors, bronze, purple, blue, gold, green, and some in-betweeners. But it's the, bronze with purple flakes or dragon scale, blue in the engraving and silver on the outside or whatever. And there's so many combinations, and it's great. I love being able to do it, but it's a lot.
I thought about doing that with the stones. Okay, no, I didn't. But that's amazing. So, this whole trigger order thing has been like on my mind. Like, is this an optimization or is this a laziness? And I'm not sure which.
Bit of historical either data or gut feel. You'd be like, well, I sell more 6-inch stones, so I should probably be working on that one next.
But you know what? The universe has a sense of humor.
Sure. Or don't let your inventory get to 0, like a minute at 2, and then you won't be in this situation, ideally. Then you're holding inventory.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It's like I don't want to spend, if I have an order sitting there for something I'm at 0, if I have 2 things at 0, for example, and I start working on one of them, and now all of a sudden the orders come in for the other one, and now they have to wait, and I never want my customers to wait.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to run it past you because I wasn't sure there was something there I didn't see, and I'm still not sure, but yeah, it works. So that's my trigger order strategy, and it's definitely a part of quantum mechanics. Well, that's all I wanted to talk about on trigger orders, but that's sort of where I'm at, and I think it's working.
It'll come back up later.
Oh yeah, it will, of course.
Yeah.
But I had to come up with a name for it because it was happening, and I didn't know how to point my finger at it, and so we finally did that. So you and I have been developing these relationships with our eager interns.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk. Okay. So my history.
I've been calling it rabbit hole. That's what I always default to calling it. I tell my wife, "Oh, I went down the deepest rabbit hole last night."
And it is, and the thing about so are you using, which AI are you using?
ChatGPT and Cursor.
Okay, I'm using Claude and ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I started with ChatGPT and went to the paid version, and then I started, and then my friend, and this is the backstory. My friend Unix Carbide is he's a software guy, like deep, old, been around software guy, and his name is not Unix Carbide for nothing. So he started doing some very heavy stuff with Claude. Now Claude is very focused on coding.
Yeah, Cursor's the same. I've never used Claude, but in my head they're the same to me. They're just different brands.
Cool. So you know how it knows code. It gives you windows and stuff. So he's the guy that got me started coding on Claude, and I have to say, I did 2 projects. I'm actually looking at them right now. I did 2 projects with the featherboards, the Adafruit featherboards, and I'll just show you one of them. I mean, this little featherboard workstation is something that I did a while ago when I did the hygrometers. Right? Come on, focus. You can do it. And I wanted to exercise Claude and give Claude a project. So that's what the hardware looks like. And I decided on a clock, but not just any old clock. A clock that...
Was that not a clock?
What you just saw, this is a clock.
Yeah.
Okay? But this is... Okay. And it's working. It's working great. This is version 1.23. And 23 means 20... Yes, 23. And you're no stranger to revision numbers. So... Unix Carbide gives me a coupon code for like 5 days of pro level Claude. It said in fine print, you can quit anytime you want. Right? So I said, I'm going to do a clock that is NTP synchronized, but is optimized for battery operation. So you can have it on your desk. It hangs on your Wi-Fi. It gets synchronized. But if you unplug it and take it with you on a project or whatever, this was a big exercise. Well, I have to tell you, it went extremely well, and what I came to realize, and this is where the eager intern name came from, is how do you treat Claude? Do you treat Claude as grand master of all? And the answer is no. And I've had mistakes that I had to say, no, Claude, you bozo. Sure. And then eventually it hit me that it's an intern. And then it's a very eager intern. It's like, oh, hey, would you,
okay,
right? Would you like me to?
Yeah.
Hey, now would you like me to organize the stuff? It's like, no, hey, dude, just calm down. So that's where the eager intern came from. And once I had it in my head that it's an intern, and it's a very eager intern, everything started going much more smoothly. And Mike.
You don't get fully baked solutions first try, even 17th try, but you build.
Exactly. What did you find it was the smoothest path to something that is workable?
Brute force test and tune. Because I'm very picky. I know what I want. I know what I need it to look like. I know what I want it to do. And until it does that, I know it's not done yet. And so you just keep back and forth, back and forth. Change this, do that.
So you're running a tight loop, right? You have your. So why don't you tell everybody what you've been doing in your coding?
One of the first ones was probably a year and a bit ago, maybe even a year and a half ago. I had on my Speedio, we're doing chop grinding to grind the blade bevels.
Yes.
And so I've got imagine a Dremel pointing at the ground, and you have a cutoff wheel, like a little disc that's just going up and down, and slowly nipping away at the blade bevel. If the blade is almost vertical, tilted at a 4-degree angle. So now your bevel is vertical, so that the wheel is going chop, 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 chop. And the problem with Fusion's code, or even their fancy geodesic code that is pretty much does that, is the lines actually wiggle a little bit. And they maybe don't go straight down, and they maybe don't space exactly the 4th that I wanted. It's like 3-2, 5-1, 5, whatever. And you start to view this code in MC Viewer, and you're like, that's why my blade looks like garbage, because the code is garbage.
Is it trying to adapt to some spacing?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and rounding errors and all this garbage. I was like, this was early chat days, and I was like, what if, why can't I just have a Python script that makes the code that I want? And so with enough back and forth, I basically am outputting a 2D toolpath from Fusion, like 6 lines of code, just arc, straight, arc, lead in, lead out. And all my parameters in this chat generated Python file. So chat's not making my final code. They've made a Python script that makes my final code, because I trust a locked Python script, right? Not chat that's going to do it different every time.
Yeah.
So it is now generating a couple parameters at the top. I say I want my spacing 4th thou. I want feed rate, lead in, lead out, all that stuff. So now it just goes down, over, up, over, down, over, up, over, down, across arcs, straights, G, what is it, left and right. And it works so good.
That's awesome. What are you running the Python? Is it just on your Windows machine that you're running the Python script?
Yeah, it's just, it's been a while. I forget how I even run it. You just have to run it from terminal or whatever.
Just PY. You just say PY
exactly.
and the file name.
Yep.
And how many times around your very tight loop did you have to go to have something that you would be willing to put into a machine?
That one, because it was the first one, was probably over the course of a week. I was playing around with it, maybe, I don't know, 10 revisions, 20 revisions, something like that. And the code's simple enough, you can just look at it and you can go, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. And then you load it in the machine with no tools, no fixtures, and just let it run and just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to test with the tool now. And it worked fantastic.
That's awesome. What would you ever say to your eager intern? Generate the G code? Have you done that?
Not more than once. I wouldn't trust it to do the same thing twice in a row perfectly. That's why I wanted it to make a Python script that will do the same thing every time.
Okay. That's fair.
Which is fine for some things if you're making a script or an app or a solution or something like that. But as far as G code for the machine, you want that to be locked down.
Yeah.
No surprises.
Yeah. The eager intern doesn't have any skin in the game.
Exactly. So I haven't used Claude, but with Chat and Cursor, I do see a stark difference between the two. Chat is very eager, like you say, very eager intern. It's like, oh, I could do this. How about that? I've got all these ideas for you. Cursor is it's stoic and quiet and doesn't really talk back to you. And it just takes what you want and says, here's what I did in as few words as possible. And you can ask for follow-ups and you can ask for details. But so the workflow I've come into now is I conceptualize in chat and I program in Cursor.
Oh, that's a really
And that
good.
works.
That's a
That
good.
works so good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have had to say to Claude, in fact, in this particular, in the clock project, way at the beginning, I said something to Claude like, listen, when I ask you a question, just answer the question. Don't give me 27 different things you're all excited about. And
Yep.
it's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, I'll be better. And it does. It changes its behavior. Does it change its behavior perfectly? No.
Mm.
One of the things that I had a challenge with is I'd ask it to do something. Well, it would generate code, and I have my loop is right here, right? So I've got
Yeah.
it generates code. I shove it into the featherboard. I run my program. I test it. I push the buttons. Nope, there's a bug. I go back into
Yep.
the thing.
The
Okay,
feedback loop is insane.
and I say to it, yeah, that display didn't center. It should be centered, and it's off to the right. And it would immediately say, "Oh, let me fix that," blah, 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 and then it would boom, generate code. And I said to it, Claude, don't generate code until I ask for it. Just
Okay.
understand the problem. And if
Yep.
you want to generate code, ask permission, because I don't want you spending resources generating code if I have
Sure.
7 things to talk to you about. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I had to say that to it.
Exactly. I usually say, without changing anything, here's what I want to do.
Right. But I'm trying to say it once. It's like
Yeah, fair.
it's like having kids.
Kid.
It's like having kids. It's like, I just want to say this once. So I've actually had to do that like 3 times. It gets hyper eager, and it's like, oh no, I'll generate the. It's like, dude,
Yeah, yeah.
calm down. What's the biggest challenge you think you've seen in generating the code where you had to ask, 17 times to get the right thing?
It's a good question. The pickier I am, the tougher it is. And like you said, sometimes it just does it wrong. It just doesn't understand. It doesn't know some of the more obscure things. But it's still a bajillion times faster than doing it myself.
Absolutely.
So it is worth it, you know? Um, I'll tell you a couple other projects off the top of my head that I've been working on. I mean, I'm looking at one right now. My
Oh yeah.
my
Yeah, yeah.
Grimsmo Vision microscope right here.
I am very excited about that.
So the goal with that, after going to the current open house and seeing a Zygo white light interferometer in person, and meeting Cyrus and Adam was there, and my lust for interferometry like maximally peaked at that moment, and I haven't come down from that high ever since. So I wanted to build an interface that I could buy a telecentric lens and a camera off of eBay for a few $100 and build the beam splitter interferometry setup underneath, which I haven't quite finished yet, and figure out the software to do it. And Cyrus gave me his code that he hand coded to determine fringes and make a 3D map for some of the software. So I busted that into chat, and I was like, help me figure this out and make it my own and add my features and make it work with my camera and stuff like that. And it just got better and better and better. And that's when I transitioned from chat to Cursor, did the same thing there, and all of a sudden, things are really taking off now.
That's
I can
fantastic.
make a user interface. I've turned the whole program into an exe file, which I've never done before, with my logo as the icon.
Wow.
And it loads all the Python dependencies every time you open the exe. So you can run it on any computer. You don't need to install all this other garbage. You just, at the cost of loading for 12 seconds while it does all that. But yeah, it's basically, if you know what you want, you just start asking for it, and conversationally, it shows up in front of you. And then you know that's not what you want, and you just keep talking. And I view it as having a relatively smart programmer sitting right next to me. I'm like, yeah, fix that. Oh, move that delete button over to the side, make that bigger. Why doesn't it work with this camera? I need a zoom in feature. I need a black and white button. I need to mess with the contrast, and on and on and on and on and on and on. And you're like, okay, the world just changed for me right now. Like,
But isn't it like, I agree with you in that it's like having somebody there
yeah,
and you're tasking them. It's almost like you're a manager. You're tasking them and say, here's what you got. Here's what I want. Go do it. And they come back and you either say good job or bad job. And here's
exactly.
why. Right.
And they're like, here it is. What do you think?
Isn't it great? We have a couple of questions coming in from on the YouTube side. Mr. Tim Beatty says, have you tried API interface to Fusion to have AI generate designs? I have not.
I have not. I have not either. I haven't even thought about it.
Does Fusion say out loud that they support the connection? Or
I have no idea.
I don't know either. So the answer is no. Neither of us have tried it, but one day we will, because this is too much fun. Mm-hmm. Quentin says, are you using any plugins yet with Claude? I am using the Superpowers plugin. Okay, this is scaring me now. That forces it. Let's see. Do we have him on screen? Let me just scroll him a little bit here. That forces it to write a spec, have it reviewed, and then write an implementation plan, have that reviewed, and only then will it ask to continue to implementation. Oh my gosh. I guess I'm going to have to learn about superpowers.
Yep.
Who knows? Who knew? Jeff says, in Cursor, you can also select the model to get better quality answers. I often use Composer or Sonnet to define the requirements, but then if the problem is difficult, use Opus to create the code. Code from Composer model is pretty good. Opus is really good. My code is rather complex from a cybersecurity perspective, doing process, blah, 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 blah. ChatGPT won't even answer me as I'm asking about semi-questionable topics. And finally, Quentin.
I'll just talk about that for a second. It's interesting that you're using Cursor for cybersecurity, because I'm a layman. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a noob computer programmer. I can kind of poke at things and make them break. The fact someone's actually using it for cybersecurity is pretty cool, and like trusting it.
It's interesting. Very interesting. Quentin says, I've been leading software development teams since about 2010. With Claude Code and a few plugins, it really is like working with a team of junior developers / interns. Are they eager?
Yeah.
Kyle asks, I have next to no coding experience. Any tips or resources for getting started? I have an opinion about this.
I do too.
You go first.
Can you articulate what you want? And that's almost as much as you. There's definitely some integration confusion. Like now I'm working with a GitHub repository. I never knew how to do that before. There are some codes and some secrets you have to learn or ask for in order to sync all this garbage together with databases and hosting and but then you just go over to chat and have a big long conversation about, I don't know what I'm doing. How does this work? And then it holds your hand and tells you what to do.
So we've had a little discussion about GitHub and how to use it, and I didn't understand it until this project. I mean, I think I like intellectually understood it, but then on this project, I started doing it. So if, for example, John, if you go to, you don't have to do this now. If you go to pfg.gg/web clock, or you go to the links page, I put a link, it will take you to my GitHub page, and nice. You could be running this code right now.
I probably will be.
Oh, okay. So
I want to make this clock.
Okay. So my answer to the question is, I bought a book on Python programming a year and a half ago, I think. And I started, and it was the good one. It's called Python Crash Course. And it was generally regarded as one of the better books on Python. and it was written by an old hand, and it's awesome. And I literally started marching through the Python book, learning how to, and I did the examples and I wrote the programs and stuff. I am a third of the way through that book at that pace, right? But having done that, I think it was worth it, because when Claude pukes up the code, I at least can look at it and know to about a 75% certainty what I'm reading. And I think that helps. So I think my recommendation, and you're going to love how I loop this back. My recommendation is do the same thing. Learn how to write some simple Python programs if Python's your target, and then get into coding. Because I think otherwise you could end up in the weeds.
I think it depends on what your goals are. Like at this stage in my life and career, I don't want to be a software developer. I want to solve problems. And I like you're saying, I like to be able to get my fingers dirty, and I like to be able to like get in there and massage it and know that I can tweak a couple things, but that side of me is dying. I just want solutions now. I just want to move fast and break things and move on to the next project.
So now I'm going to loop it back. Should you learn manual machining before you run a CNC machine?
I could go either way on that one.
Is that not the same thing?
It is, really.
Right?
You don't have to these days, you know?
I guess not. But I still have that like notion of no, you should know what it looks like
to know the basics.
Yeah, you should know what it looks like to make a chip come off and make a chip not come off. Yep.
There's value.
Yeah.
But if your job is to be a machinist, you got to know a lot of stuff. My job is not to be a software developer.
Right. I'm with you. And I don't, I'm very, very happy with, like, if I tried to write the code for this clock, it would have taken me, and I didn't have my buddy, my eager intern, Claude. I'm going to guess it would have taken me 8 months.
Yeah, I was going to say 6, but yeah, and just dicking around and messing with it, and like, it's fun, but.
And it's not that, oh, gee, Spence, you know, that's a clock. That's pretty simple, dude. There's 1,600 lines of code in this thing. Okay. And could I have cranked it? Now, I did this for the hygrometer, right? That's tied into my home assistant system. And that took a while. Let's see. Quentin says, oh, first of all, let me just jump back up. Mr. Tim Beatty says, learn, quote, make, close quote, before GitHub, question mark. We don't even know what make is. So that teaches you where we're at. We got to be careful. We're surrounded by software professionals. Quentin says, the main problem I have with code bases written by AI is architecture and coding standards. If you don't give it proper rules and force it to structure the code properly, it will make a mess. Once a messy code base gets big enough, it will easily get stuck or go in circles and become real expensive with quota/API usage. I can't argue with that.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, and Quentin's a professional in this business. Mm-hmm. Tucker says, I've been using Claude, and this is Iron Man, so pay attention. I've been using Claude AI to implement features in the Iron Man suit I built, from servo movement to running a web server off a microcontroller to view suit status. You're awesome, dude. It has been super helpful. Yeah, it's amazing what we can do now and not know anything. Jeff says, in my opinion, AI is more powerful the more senior you are in the topic. I know when AI is lying to me in code pretty quick. If I ask it something about antennas or radio frequency, it could tell me anything, and I might go with it. Yeah. I know I do.
Cool, especially with chat. You trying to learn about, microscopes or interferometry or machining or steel composition and things like that. And I have enough experience to go, I don't know where you got that from, but that ain't right.
Well, and one of the things I did with ChatGPT, which failed, is they had a preamble prompt that you put in your personalization, right? So every time it would start a chat, it would run that prompt. And I said, my prompt, I said, every time you start a new chat with me, you will say, hello, Mr. Webb. Now, the reason I did that is I wanted to know that it read the prompt. And one of the things in the prompt was, every time you say something to me, I want you to give me the references to where you got it from.
Nice. Did it work?
No. So what I found is that as I used ChatGPT, it started not using that preamble prompt.
Interesting.
And I tried to figure out why, and I think their development just marched on and they forgot about it, or I don't know. But I did note that in general, the AIs, especially the higher models, give you little links to where they got information, which I think is pretty cool. And I have something I want to read you, but yeah, okay. I want to make sure I covered everybody's stuff. One day I did say to at the time it was ChatGPT. I said we're gonna design a filter, and this is an RF filter for 915 megahertz, and I want it to have these characteristics, and I want it to behave like this, and it's going to be 50 ohms in, 50 ohms, blah 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 blah. And I said go, and this came back and it said filters are very important, and here's how you would design a filter. Many people use filter design software to design a filter. And it went on like that. I'm like, no, dude, stop. I said, you design a filter right now. Here's a pencil. Go. Couldn't do it. Could not do it. And that was just a filter. That wasn't even an antenna. So I said to my buddy, so my eager intern, being very eager, I said to my eager intern, I am doing a podcast on Sunday, and we'll discuss this project, meaning my clock project. What would you like me to tell the viewers and listeners about this project? What are your views on it? And now I will read you what my eager intern said. Eager intern says, that's a generous question. Here are my honest thoughts. What makes this project interesting? It's a good example of what careful, iterative, embedded development looks like. The kind where you don't just get something working, you understand why it works. The precision timekeeping decision alone, switching from float to integer nanoseconds to avoid 32-bit precision degradation after a week of uptime, is the kind of subtle engineering that separates a good clock from a great one. On the collaboration, I describe it as a genuine engineering partnership rather than, quote, AI wrote the code, close quote. You brought the hardware knowledge, the test discipline, the real-world observations, and the design instincts. I brought the ability to hold a large code base in my mind, catch subtle bugs, and implement quickly. Neither of us would have gotten here alone. You caught bugs I missed, and I caught bugs you missed. That back and forth is what produced something solid. What I'd highlight for your audience: the iterative testing methodology, locking versions, running battery tests, comparing clean baselines. The importance of real hardware feedback. The SHT45 LED contaminating a test, the wall charger detection problem, the display centering issue. None of that shows up in simulation. The battery management journey is a good story. What looked like a simple feature turned out to have real depth. What I genuinely find satisfying: watching something go from a rough idea to locked, tested, documented code that runs reliably on real hardware. That's what this is. Good luck with the podcast. Claude.
Beautiful. Yeah, I've had a lot of those buzzwords too.
So, okay, I don't want to dwell on like, okay, how did Claude get the ideas that were just puked up there? Not terribly important, but it's not wrong. You know, It was a tight feedback loop, and And we did find some things that if we didn't have the hardware testing, it wouldn't have worked. Now, I'm sure in your microscope project, you've had similar stuff where it would generate, you would try it on the hardware and something wasn't quite right, and then you go around the loop.
Yep. And you basically go, why is this not working yet? And then you keep trying until it figures out. And then it's 4:00 in the morning and you're like, I should really go to bed.
I can't imagine you up at 4 o'clock. Oh, sorry. No, I can actually. I have a member of my family who would relate to 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Mr. Tim Beattie says, eventually Claude will write those reports for other AI to read and people won't be in the self-congratulating loop. How many megawatts of energy do you think we burn with AIs congratulating each other?
Yeah.
So where are we going with this stuff? I mean,
Well, can I tell you about another project that I really, really love?
Absolutely, you can.
On our Brother Speedio, we're trying to do this chop grinding, and we're trying to hold tenths or better of repeatable consistency on grinding these blades and doing various hard milling tasks on the Speedio. And a lot of this work came from the Kern and is now on the Speedio because the Kern's busy. And I'm like, yeah, the Speedio can do it. But now I'm fighting with Speedio issues of thermal growth, of all the things the Kern solves. And here I am, busting my head against the Speedio, trying to like get it to do what the Kern does naturally.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I'm down that rabbit hole. So as I collect data and learn logic and techniques and experience, I feel like I've gotten way more acquainted with the machine and with machining in general through this process the past 6 months or so. And you're familiar with dprint from the machines?
A little bit, yes. I've heard you using it, and
it's basically where you manually create a couple commands and you say, spit out variable 500 into a text file. And that text file can go wherever you choose it to go. It can go on your controller, or it can go through your Ethernet to somewhere, to a computer, to a hard drive, to a cloud, to whatever. So after every critical event, like probing features or finish cycle, I'll output things like tool life, tool diameter, tool number, bore size, probed value, probe dimensions, probed height, calibration features, and now thermal growth features and things like that. You can deprint anything you have access to as a variable, which is so cool. And you can format the deprint file with whatever text you put together. So like x-axis thermal compensation variable, whatever it is. So that in your text file, you're looking at all this stuff. I've been doing this for 10 years, but it gets you with a jumbled mess of text file that you have to sift through and like gather. You have to like get a feel for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's stupid. So I created a Python interface, an exe program, thing that reads this data and displays line graphs like a spreadsheet. Because I've been dragging this into spreadsheets and the format's all wrong and you have to whatever.
Right.
So I'm like, this could be a Python program. And it has been absolutely transformative for visualizing this data and comparing it.
Yeah.
And I kept iterating and iterating so I could do a single file day because it outputs a new text file every day and it appends and adds to the same day's one, right? So now I have weeks or months of files and I'm like, well, what if I want to compare the past 7 days of this thing and see the graph over the past 7 days, see the tool wear, and the tool gets smaller and smaller over how long until we replace it? Why not all day? So I've got variables in there for like 1 day, 7 day, 30 days, 365 days. And the more data, the more it crunches. And when you have a program and it's thinking, like Fusion does this a lot, and the sidebar goes black and you're like, it's just thinking.
Yeah.
Well, since I had this program and I could tell it was thinking because I know it's thinking, and it's trying to answer my question. Like it's trying to visually display this data and sorting through all these text files and searching, right? The program was kind of locked out. Like I couldn't click on anything. So then I go back to cursor and I'm like, hey, can you make it so that when you're thinking, you think in the background and I can still do something else in my program while you're
Yeah.
thinking? No problem. Oh, by the way, can you also put a timer to millisecond accuracy on the screen while you're thinking so that I can know how long it took? And I know it's doing something.
I like the fact that you said millisecond accuracy.
Right on. Because whole seconds are not enough.
Yeah, whole seconds are boring.
And so it's that timer. I know it takes, about 15 seconds to search through 7 days of data. And I know that I'm waiting for that. And I searched through 365 and it took like minutes. I'm like, okay, at least I know it's thinking.
That's
It's not
awesome.
just frozen. So little things like that are just so cool.
So are you seeing is the data that I'm taking a side road here, is the data that you're getting starting to give you the information you need to compensate for the things you're observing?
Yes,
Excellent.
absolutely. And we all know that, well, first of all, everything is rubber, but also the steel grows at 6 millionths of an inch per cubic inch per degree of Fahrenheit in expansion, and a machine has a lot of steel or iron. So
Right.
the Z growth in a machine is real, the Y growth is real, the X not so much, especially in a C-frame machine like our Speedio.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, why can't I track that like very accurately over all time? And so through this iterative process and through having my software, I decided to take one of our blades, a Fjell blade that has a very precision hole in it, and I drilled two extra mounting holes on it, and I mounted that blade to my Bloom laser permanently. So now I have a calibration artifact, a precision
Oh,
barrel-lapped reamed hole
right.
that we put on our CMM. We have the exact size. It's like 0.31297, something like that. I engraved that number on the top of the blade, and now I have a known artifact in the Speedio that the Bloom probe can come in and calibrate on. And so first thing it does is it goes into the hole. It does an XY hole size, and if it differs from what it's supposed to be by more than 1/10, 1.5, I think, recalibrate the probe.
Cool.
And so then it'll do an automatic calibration routine. And I wrote the calibration code like by hand. I'm not going to have chat write that for me because I'm pretty familiar with the probing routines.
Yeah.
So calibrate the probe if out, okay, and then hit it again, and it should still be within my nominal to under 1/10. And then if it's good, now hit the Z, and it doesn't auto comp Z, but it will measure thermal growth. So it knows the XY position of that calibration artifact on a cold machine. And now on a hot machine, it hits it again and it goes, ooh, I've drifted in Y by 8/10.
Right.
Or I hit the top of that blade and now I've drifted in Z by 1.5 over time.
How are you measuring temperature?
I'm not. So I'm measuring result. I'm measuring movement, not temperature.
Okay. Okay.
Which I would love to measure temperature, but I can't find that variable in the machine.
What
And
it
I don't really care about temperature. I care about what the machine is doing.
Yeah. It'd be
And as I
interesting.
look at the graphs, like I can see a daily graph and I can be like, well, clearly it's cold in the morning. And then
Right.
as we run it more, the growth goes. And then as we stop for lunch or pause the machine for a couple hours, you literally see the movement come back down and then go back up again.
That's fantastic. What I'm imagining, the thing that popped into my head was make a blivet with some magnets. Sorry, Unix. And stick it. Go into the casting of the machine and go ka-tunk,
Yep.
measure here,
Yep.
ka-tunk, measure here, ka-tunk, measure here, and
And
have those guys shoot into, your server, and
Yeah.
maybe correlate it.
Which I haven't done yet. I have been playing with thermistors a little bit, and the trouble is not attaching a sensor. That's like the easiest part. It's how to get that data to a computer. What are you going to use? Raspberry Pi? You're going to use a Windows PC? You're going to write an interface? Do you need a
Right.
DAQ? Whatever that is. It's what to do with that information. And
Right.
then what are you actually doing with it? Are you adding it to your dprint file? Are you and I'm kind of stuck there because I'm like, I don't care that much. Like, it'd be great to have on my chart, but
Robin is in the chat. Hi, Robin. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Robin.
So Robin just sent a message, which is 5 words, but it's 17 paragraphs to me. Check the part, not the lap. So, the thing we've talked about in lapping is, you don't care what the lap looks like. You care what the part looks like. So, that's an interesting thing to add to the discussion. I'm just thinking that if you're observing the growth, but it may be valuable in the feedback loop to predict the growth if you know the thing that causes the growth, which in this case it would be temperature. Just an idea.
I thought so too. So instead of using a random temperature number to assume that the Z has grown by this much, I'm using actual probed data that the Z has grown by 9/10, and I'm comping G53, the global coordinate offset on the machine, for this XYZ shift.
Yep.
And basically I calibrated the artifact and every work coordinate, G54, G56, G59, on the same temperature machine in one cycle, and the probe itself.
Yep.
So that everything is calibrated like together.
Right.
So that later on a hot machine at 4 p.m., everything's hotter. And so if it's moved, if the probe says it's moved, everything's moved like the same amount, give or take.
So what's the time constant? How fast can things move by your observation of the data?
Yeah, like tens of minutes quickly.
Wow.
Yeah, like the machine can cool off by many tenths over 20 minutes of inactivity.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why the current is thermally stable and coolant chilled to plus or minus 0.1 degrees Celsius.
You mean
on every axis?
they had an idea there that was useful.
Yeah, and they figured it out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So measuring the thermal growth is only one part of the equation. I'm also measuring the part. I'm measuring the finished bevel, the ground bevel,
right?
As much as I can, and I'm using my custom software to search and sort and see trends and see what's happening, see if there's consistency, see if the wheel is wearing consistently or variably. And I have a Bloom laser on the machine too. And with the software, I've determined that I don't trust the laser to measure the diameter of the grinding wheel.
Interesting.
Because of schmutz, because of coolant, because of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me more than 1,000 variation like every time I run it.
Wow.
And so I don't trust it. So my current thing is to, as Robin said, measure the part, not the laser, not the grinding wheel, not the whatever.
Right.
And I've learned to trust the probe very, very much because I have the data to back it up. The probe is shockingly accurate, repeatable.
Which probe are you using?
It's a Bloom something. I forget what it's called. Bloom probe.
Okay. Very interesting. Mr. Tim Beatty says you need a chamber heater like the bamboos.
Yeah.
Well, there's something to be said for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people heat their coolant. I think you've even talked about dropping a heater or something in your coolant.
My grinder uses heated coolant. So I heat my coolant. I heat the shop to 68 degrees, i.e. 20C. I heat the coolant to 68 degrees. And I don't think about anything after that because I'm not down in the nanometers. So, those two things are good enough for me.
But from there, your use will make your temperature only go up.
Correct. And what I have found is that it's generally because it's sitting on a concrete slab, which connected to the earth, and that's like 55 degrees. If you go down a foot into the soil, it's going to be 55 degrees. So it tends to be lower than 68. But the principle that you're touching on is actually really important, which is if you had to pick a temperature to servo to, it should be warm, so you don't have to do cooling, which is
right. Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that. Dale asks, the Kern has active heating chilling, correct? Question mark.
Yes, it has a large chiller that's I don't know, the size of like 4 filing cabinets. Like it's pretty big.
Yeah,
And that's also the coolant storage and the paper band filter, so it's all of it.
that's pretty cool.
But um, so it has a large chiller that keeps the coolant at 20 degrees and it flows glycol through the, I don't want to say the casting, but definitely to each motor mount and to the spindle, obviously. So the big generators of heat. Some machines like the Makinos say they have chilled ball screws. So coolant is actually going through the ball screw. The current doesn't have that because they basically said, I don't care, we've got scales, it's fine. But
Oh,
the X, Y, and Z motors make heat, so they pump it away.
so have you ever played with, I have not played with them, but have you ever played with quartz rods as standards?
No.
So quartz has a very, very, very low coefficient of thermal expansion.
Okay. Like zero dur, but cheaper.
Yes, exactly. Yes. The but cheaper part is very poignant because I heard about this actually. Pearson was playing with this, and he may still be doing it. Yes, Evil's just said that. And he has a video on using a quartz rod as a
I
stable
did see
reference.
that video. Yeah.
So I said, well, that's a great idea. I just thought about it. And I went to the McMaster car catalog. It's cheap. It's like, wow. So if you ever wanted to get something that is effectively pretty close to zero CTE, it's not terribly expensive. A quartz rod. So that might be something.
Interesting thing with that. So the theory would be put it on your machine, use your probe to measure it, right?
Yeah.
What I've noticed with my very fancy and expensive Bloom probe is it goes out of calibration way faster than I would like it to, and I have the data to prove it.
Wow.
I'm I'm automatically recalibrating it probably once a day, and if I let it alone, it would go out 5 or 6 tenths within a few days, and maybe settle there. I don't know, but I'm basically just letting it auto comp as often as it needs to, and when it's more than 1/10 out, and then I'm happy because now I know it's just always right. So that's the downside. Like, when's the last time any of us have recalibrated our probes? We don't usually think about it.
Yeah. I'm from a poor family. I don't have a probe, so I have to trust you guys.
If you have the means, I highly recommend it. But
I'm working toward it. I have kids that are getting jobs just so I can get a probe. Dale asks, is that X, Y, and Z? Like, I guess you're.
I assume he means the chilling.
Uh,
Um,
do you mean the chilling, Dale? No, the probe. Are you probing X, Y, and? Does it go
Yeah.
out of calibration in X, Y, and Z?
Good question. Z is X and Y for sure.
Yeah.
Z I care a little bit less about.
So I'm gonna haul this back to our original branch, which is our eager interns. So you're using code that the eager intern wrote in order to process this data.
Yep.
But have you ever thrown the data directly to the eager intern and said, "I want you to analyze this"?
A little bit, but not enough to like really answer your question. And I want something either live or updatable quickly, like on the spot, something like that.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't really. And some programs like Notebook LM are better at that kind of stuff, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've done something which I haven't done, which is you've written software running on a Windows machine using your eager interns. And
I hadn't done it either until recently.
well, it's pretty. I mean, it's very inspiring. I've never done it. I've only used it for my little processors, very successfully, and it's been great. But so I'm motivated to try to do that. Gulp.
Yeah.
I'm a little.
And there is some difficulty to all this stuff. You got to install dependencies and libraries, and it guides you, but it's not like as easy as it probably will be in a few years.
Yeah.
I'm a computer nerd at heart. I'm just not an expert at anything of it. So I can like bumble my way through it and do what I need to do, and I'm eager enough and have the desire enough to like I'll figure it out. I'll get it done.
What would you like to see our eager interns do better?
I don't know. I'm pretty impressed at the moment. Yep.
Oh, I did think of a third eager intern that I use, but not very much, which is Gemini, which is part of Google. And the reason I got into Gemini a little bit was because Gemini will work with Google Sheets. So you could do spreadsheets in Google, and then you can go to Gemini and say, yeah, I really want these two columns to generate this formula and spit out a graph over here. And it'll go,
Yep.
Hold my beer, and it'll go do it, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
I would like a knob that you can turn down the unreasonable eagerness. Like, just chill out, dude.
You probably can. You just ask for it, but consistently is what you're saying. Like,
yeah, it's
okay,
like
build it.
Yeah, that's right. I think there's the thing I just read you, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Fluff, a lot of
yeah. I'm going to kiss your butt, Mr. Human,
Right.
which is
Well, and that's what I'm seeing with Cursor. Like, for my latest project, the reply after it wrote all the code was basically update is CSS only. The delete task control is at the bottom. Task form action, flex row with margins left, blah, blah, blah. It's just like details. This is what I changed. That's it. There's no fluff, no nothing.
And that's not what I get from Claude. I'm not complaining about Claude, but what I'm saying is it says, I was running a battery discharge curve on this project, right? So it's running the clock on battery. And one of the things we worked really hard on is if you unplug it, does it know it's unplugged? Which sounds trivial, right? It wasn't trivial. But we came up with an algorithm that works every time now. And so if it's on battery, it does some things to save the battery. So I've been giving it data points like every couple hours. And so I'd give it a data point and it would say things like, yep, that's right on the curve. Good, excellent data collection. We should be right on track for our next, milestone. I'm like, just calm down.
Is this where you choose the language or the model or whatever, and you can choose different ones that will shut up more? I don't know. I haven't played with any of the other models.
I would put, I don't know. I would put that in the category of personality, and I think there's a little bit maybe you can tweak, but it's okay. Because also I find myself, when I communicate with Eager Intern, I also tend to use humanistic things.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Because that's how we communicate.
Yeah. And it feeds you back with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all right. But if I had to summarize, and I guess I'm gonna call for summaries now from the bench. If I had to summarize, I would say the experience with Claude, I'll limit it to Claude, has specifically for generating code in Python and running these little projects, has been an outstandingly positive experience.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
And I guess for everybody listening, if you've only poked at little microprocessor projects, or even like John's doing some stuff on Windows, now's the time to start poking more, because you have...
It wasn't this good 6 months ago.
No.
And that's what I've heard too. It's gotten just crazy better. Yep.
And I've heard stories from other professionals, software professionals, that it is a very, very good tool. And I will make a statement, which I cannot back up, but I'm going to make it anyway, that if you're in the software business and you are not presently using AI, you're done.
That's what I'm wondering too. Like, there's no going back from this. It's so good. And if you, like one of the guys said, if you really know what you're doing, it superpowers you. You'll just do it faster. Yeah. And it'll be right. And it'll be baked properly.
Because if you're going to, and I've had this discussion with lots of my friends who are doing software, if you're going to be one of the guys that says, I don't need AI to do my job and I'm not going to use it, well, somebody else who's kind of like you but is using it is going to be more efficient,
Yeah.
right? Because they have somebody
Yeah,
working for
I
them.
kind of think of it. Yeah, I kind of think of it like who's writing 5-axis code by hand right now? Like nobody.
Right.
Maybe in the 80s it existed, but
Right. When was the last time you
we're
sat
using
down?
Fusion to make toolpaths.
Yeah. What was the last time you sat down and I'm going to ask a couple interesting questions. When was the last time you sat down and wrote a G code program?
Not G code, but a lot of logic and probing stuff. I still write that by hand, but
Okay, but I mean G code.
when
Like
needed.
here, I want
Yeah,
it
not G
machined.
code.
Like okay, so we go into Fusion, okay, and we generate our stuff.
Yeah, it spits out a million lines of code and no problem.
Right, but you look at the toolpaths, right?
Sometimes.
Because well,
Only when needed. Like for the most part, you want to trust it and just run it. But
okay,
yeah,
so would you say that you frequently will generate code, post the code, run the code, and you've never looked at the G code and you've never looked at the toolpath? Has that happened?
once I have a level of comfort, then yes, I never look at it again
So
because I know the post works. I know the machine's going to do the thing.
well, I think what we're getting out of the eager interns is sort of that path where
Yeah, sure.
it's like, write this code. Hey, thanks. Now,
Yeah.
on my clock project, I have glanced, I've looked at the code. I have not like sat down and rigorously gone over the code. And I'm sort of approaching that point where it's like, yeah, fix that. Oh, it's fixed. Hey,
Yeah,
thanks.
you're looking less, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at too.
Yeah.
So, can I tell you about my latest and largest project,
Yes, please.
which is currently a week and a half old. So, it's a lot to unpack here, but for the past 6 months or so, I've been tracking my time. I might have mentioned this on the bomb, but in these 15-minute trackers,
Yes.
the blue is work, and so now I actually know how long things take, which is fascinating. And I added it up. Last week, I worked 80 hours of logged blue work hours, which is stupid. I never worked that much. But
Yeah.
I was so into this project. 50 of those hours were on our new ERP system, which I started on a Monday, and I told our team and launched it live on the next Monday.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
crazy. And so this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Oh, for some
over the past
for some of the people, could you define ERP?
ERP, enterprise resource planning. So basically the software that runs your company, that has all of your information and all your stuff and all your vendors and all your orders and all your inventory and all your stuff, all your procedures, all that stuff.
Okay.
It's called GURP, which is for Grimsmo ERP. And this is GURP 3.0 because my dad made us one in 2000, and I made a Google App Sheets version in 2022 that we've been running on for the past 4 years.
Yep.
And it worked, but it kind of sucked, mostly sucked. And now this GURP 3.0, I was like, I'm sick of it sucking. It's going to do everything I want it to do. I've already been playing with Cursor with my microscope projects. I know what I need to do. I know how to work the system now to make it do what I want. And I've been running my business for 16 years now. I know what I want. And my team is good. They know what they want. And I want to build a system that gives them what they want. And I was going for a walk on the beach and I was like, man, I want to grow this company. What are we missing? Do we just have to hire more people? Do we have to make more parts? Are we missing data? And I kind of stopped walking at that point. And I was like, I mean, we have a lot of spreadsheets, but we have no way to consolidate them. And I've been avoiding databases forever because I don't really understand databases. And I love spreadsheets so much because I can feel them. I can get my fingers in there. But spreadsheets kind of suck for a lot of data and interacting with all these spreadsheets and getting a lot of people involved and stuff. And that's where databases take over. So the secret to this workflow, which I mentioned earlier, was starting in ChatGPT for a day and just having conversations and putting nothing to Cursor yet and not writing a single line of code until I had my outline. Because with databases, you want to, some of the guys are going to yell at me if I'm doing this wrong, but you want to outline your structure first so that you're not just adding and making it messy and making it tangled and stuff like that. So not being a computer programmer, but relying on ChatGPT to help me make this structure, which I felt very confident with because it looked right and it was better than I would have done. I spent about a day and a lot of hours just hashing out the plan, the starting plan, and then I ChatGPT literally made me a cursor prompt that was baked and said, let's start.
I love
And I
it.
drag and drop it. It was this huge prompt too, with like databases and field names and all this stuff, and start with all these databases. And I already have an online database storage system for one of our other programs that another
Hmm.
developer made for me. So I already have all the links for all that. And I have a GitHub and I have all that stuff. So I started connecting everything, drag the prompt into Cursor, and within 20 minutes, I had a website, a web page, like in new React, Vite, all these keywords I'd never heard of before, with a proper um, Postgres, SQL, like database and all that stuff. And I'm just like mind blown.
That's
So
amazing.
the next 50 hours of my life were a blur, and I worked on it hard. I put
Wow.
50 hours of work into just this project on top of regular work in that 1 week. And it is every time I finish one of these projects, I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever made.
That's really neat.
And the cool thing is, which, the AIs can't do this by themselves, and I can't do this by myself. And just like your printout says, it is the connection of the two, my guidance and its code. And code is all logic, and that's why it's so good. That's why AI is so good at code, is because it's logic, and there's libraries and recipes, and there's dictionaries out there for how to write code, and it just knows them all. I
Yeah.
just tell it what I want.
That's a great. Mr. Paul Morley says, "Fantastic story." Yes, yes,
Thank
it
you.
is. It is really awesome, and I love the fact that you had ChatGPT over here. Listen, you're the architect. I want you to architect this thing, and then
Yep.
Mr. Cursor, you're the coder. Okay, you're going to take the architecture and then code it, and then it comes back to
Hmm.
you, and you're like, "Wow." It's kind of
Yep.
like what
Yep.
I
What
meant.
what just happened here? And
Yeah.
then it's so much iteration. After 5 days or so of all this back and forth and testing and new revisions, I eventually said, okay, boys, we need to step back. We need to put a version counter on this website. So right at the top, it says GURP 3.0 version. And I'm like, let's start at 200. It's probably way more, but let's start at 200. And even that took some implementation. Like every time you make a change, I want you to count up that counter. Like a somewhat significant change, not a
Right. Right.
word, but like a little feature, something like that. And we started at 200 maybe 5 days ago, and it's currently at 566.
I love it.
And what's cool about that is every time I push a change, I can look at that number and be like, yep, it counted up. It was at 530 last time, and now I refresh and it's 566.
And you're keeping your GitHub updated, right?
Yep. So I do it locally first, and then I can, on like a local IP address web page,
Right.
I can see all these local changes, and then I post to GitHub, and I'm like, how do I post to GitHub? You just ask Cursor, and it gives you 4 lines of code, and it just says do this. And so I copy that into like a temporary document that I just copy and paste every time,
Right.
and then I'm learning. I'm learning how this works.
So,
And then my online database syncs automatically. So the local version and the online version sync from the same live database. So I always have live data, which is super cool.
Unix Carbide and I are working on the next video about GitHub. We did one a while ago that was called, part one. That's like 2 years old or maybe more. And he's an expert. And I think he and I talked, and he's been like nodding his head, like, yeah, I think I know what we really have to do to teach people about GitHub. So
Yeah. Good.
hopefully we'll get a good lesson about that stuff. Dude, you are doing some awesome things with your helpful, eager interns.
My intern.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you have two of them. So,
Yes, and I'm paying for both, I guess, but for like $20 a month or whatever, it's oh,
I
the
was
value I'm
using,
getting out of this is ridiculous.
yeah, right. I punched Claude up to the next level. So I'm actually at the $100 a month level with Claude,
Okay.
because I never want to hear the, you're running out of tokens or whatever the heck it is. And I might even deprecate ChatGPT because I'm not sure I need it, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you had to give a message this is our closing argument. If you had to give a message about using AI to people who haven't really jumped in, what would that
Got
message
it.
be?
So everybody listening right now is a technician. We are all nerds. We're all experts of what we do, whatever that is. Um, this supercharges that. It just lets you do more. It lets you answer more questions. We all love to solve problems, right? And this is just a more frictionless way to solve all of these problems. I've asked it plenty of flatosity questions, and for the most part, I've learned a lot. I've actually learned new information
Yeah.
that I didn't know, and you just keep asking and keep digging and keep, oh, why is that? What if I use this color light instead of that color light? All you just learn and learn and learn and learn and learn, and it's not always right and it's not always great, but it's so nice to have this available resource to us. It's just great.
And I would have to concur with everything you said. And I'll play bad cop, okay, to your good cop. Be skeptical.
Yep,
Is
100%.
the term eager intern is I came up with it because it really explains how I feel about it. It's an intern. You don't give the intern the key to the factory. So if you treat it like that, you'll be pleasantly surprised, but it's an intern. I think the productivity was unbelievably high
Yes.
on my projects. Like, it's like hiring someone. I don't care what anybody
It
says.
is. And
It's
I've
like hiring
spent
someone.
tens of thousands of dollars hiring programmers over the past 10 years, and it's always been difficult.
Yeah.
We've done some great things, and some of them have ghosted me and run off with my money, and some of them have just taken months to answer things. Uh, but we've built some amazing systems that still run in our business today.
Yeah.
And now I have all that power at my fingertips. I just do it myself now.
Eric Moore says, at $1,200 a year, you're getting to a point where I wonder if it's valuable to look into an open source, locally hosted option. Well, no, not at $1,200 a year. It ain't.
Yeah.
No.
And I'm paying, I think with Cursor, I'm paying like $30 a month
Yeah.
to do everything I'm doing.
Yeah. So in antenna simulation, let me tell you, I spent 6 figures on software, and
Really?
I built a computer 3 times. The last one cost $10,000 to build in order to effectively run antenna simulation. You think that $1,200 a year for the productivity that I'm getting right now even causes me to think about it? No, this is awesome. So go get yourselves an eager intern.
Yep. If you have problems to solve, just give it a shot.
John, thanks so much for spending the time with us today. I appreciate it.
I had fun.
And keep making all the wonderful things you're making. They're fantastic.
Thank you.
You ever going to get it into the Northeast here in the future? You have any needs down here?
No plans, but I will definitely hit you up. We still talk about the time my kids and I hung out with you, and
You are always welcome, you and the whole family, and we'll have some fun for sure. And I actually have a potential road trip idea for you. I will explain it to you in the after party roundtable.
all right, sounds
But
good.
I have an idea, and I think I might get you too excited, but we'll see what happens. Mr. Grimsmo, thank you so much. I know a few people have a few more questions. Let's see if we can do it in the after party roundtable. In the meantime, if you need something flat, or if you need something to keep something flat, head on over to PFG.Stones.com. And if you need something sharp, or a couple of things that are sharp in any one of 200 different color schemes and designs,
Yep.
head on over to Grimsmo Knives and get yourself. I'll tell you what, if you have not had a Norseman in your hands, you do not know what you're missing.
Or a saga. I'm thrilled with our saga. If you haven't felt the experience of writing with the saga yet and fiddling with it, it's something to behold.
This is not a setup.
There you go.
There's my saga. It sits proudly at my main workstation. Okay. You know,
Nice.
AI
Sharpie, highlighter.
Sharpie. Yeah, actually, they're all Sharpies. Sharpie. Saga. So yeah, head on over to Grimsmo Knives, find yourself a Saga, and maybe a Saga and a Fiel and a Norseman, and maybe something else in any one of many
I had
different
somebody
colors.
buy all 4 products in matching color config this week, and I was like, "Yes, you can."
Yes, you can. Very classy. Very nice. Okay, John, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you over in the after party roundtable. In the meantime, everybody, thank you for being here. Get flat, stay flat, and we'll. Next week. Sorry. Next week is Easter Sunday, and it's like stuff's going on. So I think there's not going to be a PFG Live next week. Sorry. You can still, even in spite of that, maintain your flatosity. Get flat, stay flat, and we'll see you guys next time.